4 years ago, we witnessed one of the most dramatic spikes in unemployment in modern history. The pandemic-era shutdowns forced millions out of work, and the economic ripples were felt worldwide. But today, that crisis is old news. What's not old news, however, is what it left behind. Right now, over 10 million Americans, primarily men, are neither working, studying, retired, nor institutionalized. They're not looking for jobs. They're not pursuing education. They're not engaged in the traditional labor force at all. They're just doing nothing. At first glance, this might seem like a temporary blip, a byproduct of COVID perhaps. But what if I told you this trend has been snowballing for decades? Since the 1960s, every single month, 0.1% of working-age American men have been stepping away from the workforce for good. Why? And more importantly, how are they surviving? Let's break it down. To understand this phenomenon, we need to separate these men from the broader labor force. There are many reasons people might not be working. They could be retired, they might be pursuing education, they could be stay-at-home spouses or caregivers, or they might be part of the military, a group that doesn't count in labor force statistics despite being gainfully employed. These groups are not what we're talking about. What's troubling is the growing number of men aged 25 to 55, men in their prime working years, who have completely dropped out of the labor force without any of the above explanations. What's even more shocking is that this group has grown in tandem with another trend, the rise of women in the workforce. In the late 20th century, women entered the labor market in unprecedented numbers, often taking on roles traditionally held by men. By 2008, this shift meant that for every man leaving the workforce, nearly as many women were entering it. Some men transitioned into stay-at-home roles, supporting their families in a non-traditional way. And if that were the whole story, it wouldn't be cause for concern. But for the majority of these men, that's not what's happening. Nicholas Eberstadt's book, Men Without Work, shines a spotlight on this phenomenon. His research, along with a 2022 study by the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston, revealed a startling pattern. Men without a college degree are disproportionately likely to leave the workforce and not return. At first, this might seem logical. College graduates tend to earn more, so they're less likely to struggle with financial insecurity. But here's the twist. It's not the high earners who are dropping out, it's the low earners. Why? Because for many of these men, the math doesn't add up. Imagine this. You're offered two choices. One, work 2 or 3 low-wage jobs, spend your days on your feet, deal with rude customers, and barely scrape by, both financially and emotionally. 2, rely on government assistance, family support, or side gigs in the informal economy. Spend your days pursuing hobbies, gaming, or just not working. What would you choose? The Federal Reserve study found that many men are opting for the second path. Not out of laziness, but because they feel trapped. The cost of living has outpaced wages in nearly every corner of America. For those in low-skill, low-paying jobs, the prospect of working hard for little reward simply doesn't feel worth it. So, what are these men doing with their time? According to Eberstadt, the answer is largely predictable. Surveys reveal that many spend their days behind screens, playing video games, watching TV, or scrolling social media. Surprisingly, they're not taking on more domestic responsibilities. They spend just as much time on household care as employed women and even less than unemployed men actively searching for work. But here's where things get even more concerning. Most of these men are also socially isolated. They're less likely to have partners or children, and they're far less involved in community activities like volunteering or civic engagement. This paints a troubling picture. A growing segment of society is effectively opting out, not just of work, but of life's broader responsibilities and joys. And yet, despite their withdrawal, the cost of living hasn't gone away. So, how are they managing? The answer lies in a combination of government assistance, family support, and the underground economy. Disability benefits, for example, have become a critical lifeline for many. Over the past few decades, disability insurance payouts have surged. Unlike unemployment benefits, which require recipients to actively seek work, disability benefits often don't have this stipulation, but that's not the whole story. Economists like Dr. Dwight R. Lee point to another factor under the table: work. From cash-in-hand jobs to illegal activities, the informal economy plays a significant role in sustaining this group. This isn't just speculation. The underground economy is estimated to contribute a staggering $2 trillion annually to the US GDP. That's 12% of the entire economy. This isn't just a personal issue for the men involved, it's a societal crisis. While millions of men sit on the sidelines, key industries are grappling with massive labor shortages. From healthcare to construction, the demand for workers has never been higher. Yet we have an entire generation opting out, creating a mismatch that threatens the stability of our economy. The ripple effects are profound. Economic stagnation. Fewer workers mean less productivity and slower growth. Strained social systems. As more people rely on government assistance, the burden on taxpayers increases. Erosion of community. When individuals withdraw from work, they often withdraw from society, leading to greater social fragmentation. Why are more people than ever choosing not to work? Some point to declining wages and rising costs. Others blame broader cultural shifts, like the growing emphasis on individual fulfillment over traditional roles. Technology has also played a role, making it easier than ever to escape into virtual worlds and avoid the pressures of real life. But there's one factor we haven't discussed yet, one that might be the most unsettling of all. For decades, the American dream promised that hard work would lead to success. But for millions of people, that promise feels like a lie. When the dream dies, what's left to motivate people? That's the question we all need to answer. Because if we don't, this trend will only accelerate. So what do you think? Is the rise of men without work a symptom of a broken system, or is it a personal choice? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're ready to dive deeper into this issue, make sure to watch our next video, where we'll explore the role of education and automation in reshaping the future of work.